Have you ever looked at someone and thought, I wish I could be like them? Whether it's their success, their skills, or their life, that feeling of comparison can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that comparing yourself to others might be the very thing that's holding you back from your true potential? Let me tell you a story that might change the way you look at yourself forever. In a small village, there lived a young man named Ragav. He was a thoughtful and hard-working person, but something was always bothering him. Every time he saw someone who was better than him, someone who was wealthier, smarter, or faster, he couldn't help but feel disheartened. He would think, I wish I were as smart as him. Or, I wish I had as much wealth as him. Every time Ragav compared himself to others, he sank deeper into disappointment. His life was no longer filled with the joy of his own accomplishments. Instead, it was consumed by the thought that he would never measure up. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between lush green hills, there lived a young man named Ragav. He was a hard-working person, always eager to improve his life. Every morning, Ragav would wake up early to tend to the fields, assist his family, and do whatever work he could find in the village. Despite his best efforts, however, something always seemed to be missing. No matter how much he worked, he never felt good enough. He couldn't shake the feeling that others around him were more successful, more talented, or simply better off. Whenever he looked around, he couldn't help but compare himself to others. He saw his neighbor Siddhar, a man who was very rich and owned many properties. Ragav thought to himself, I wish I had as much wealth as Siddhar. He would often look at Siddhar's fancy clothes, his beautiful house, and the expensive gifts he gave to his family. Ragav felt like no matter how much he worked, he would never be able to achieve such wealth. It made him feel small and insignificant. Then there were others. People in the village who were faster, smarter, or more skilled in various areas. Ragav would look at someone running in the morning and think, I wish I could run as fast as them. Or when he saw someone excelling in their studies, he couldn't help but feel frustrated with himself. He wanted to be just as successful, but no matter how much effort he put in, it didn't seem to make a difference. Every comparison made him feel worse. His life, which once felt full of possibilities, started sinking into disappointment. The more Ragav compared himself to others, the more discouraged he became. He found it harder to focus on his studies, and his interest in work began to fade. Every day felt like an uphill battle, and the weight of constant comparison was pulling him down. He wondered if he could ever be as successful as those he envied. Ragav's mind was filled with negative thoughts, each comparison chipping away at his self-esteem. He felt trapped in a cycle he couldn't escape. One day, as Ragav was walking through the village, he heard some exciting news. A famous saint had come to visit the village. He was known for his deep wisdom and ability to help people find peace and understanding in their lives. The saint had helped many people see things clearly and had given them answers to their most troubling questions. Ragav, desperate for help, decided that he would seek out the saint. He hoped that maybe this wise man could provide some clarity and help him escape the endless cycle of comparison that was holding him back. The next morning, Ragav went to meet the saint. The saint was sitting under a large tree, looking calm and peaceful, as if he had all the time in the world. Ragav approached him and shared his troubles. He told the saint about how he constantly compared himself to others and how it made him feel worthless. No matter how hard I try, I always feel like I am falling short, Ragav confessed. I don't know how to stop comparing myself to others. It makes me feel like I'll never be good enough. The saint listened intently, his eyes filled with understanding. After a brief moment, the saint smiled gently and said, Come to the oldest tree in the village tomorrow morning. There, you will find the answer to your question. Ragav was puzzled. He didn't understand how the old tree could possibly help him find the answers he was seeking, but he decided to trust the saint's wisdom. The next morning, Ragav made his way to the oldest tree in the village, a massive tree that had stood tall for generations. When he arrived, the saint was already there, waiting for him. The saint motioned for Ragav to come closer. He told him to look carefully at the forest around them. Ragav looked around, taking in the sight of the many trees scattered throughout the forest. Some trees were tall and strong, while others were shorter and thinner. Some trees had thick trunks, while others had thin, delicate stems. Some trees were filled with vibrant fruits, while others seemed bare. The saint asked Ragav what he saw, and Ragav described what he observed, pointing out the differences between the trees. The saint then asked Ragav a simple question. Imagine if the mango tree started comparing itself to the coconut tree. What if the mango tree complained that it was not as tall as the coconut tree? And what if the coconut tree complained that it could not bear sweet fruits like the mango tree? Would that make sense? Ragav paused. He had never thought about it in that way before. "No, Gurudev, that would be foolish," he said. The saint nodded and smiled, pleased that Ragav understood the point. The saint then asked, "How does this forest look to you?" Ragav looked around again, taking in the full beauty of the scene. The forest was balanced, full of different types of trees, each one unique and contributing to the overall beauty of the landscape. Ragav smiled and said, "It looks beautiful and balanced." The saint's smile widened. "Exactly. That is the greatest truth of life. Just as every tree has its own unique existence and purpose, every person has their own journey and destiny. The mango tree was made to bear sweet fruit, while the coconut tree was made to provide strength and height. Their lives are different, but both are important." Ragav nodded, beginning to understand the lesson, but he still had some lingering doubts. The saint, sensing this, took him to a nearby pond where fish swam peacefully in the clear water. The saint pointed to a bird flying overhead and asked, "If this fish started complaining that it couldn't fly like the bird, would that be fair?" Ragav thought about it for a moment before shaking his head. "No, Gurudev. The fish is made to swim in the water, and the bird is made to fly in the sky." The saint looked at Ragav with kind eyes and said, "Then why do you want to be like someone else? Your journey is your own, and you have qualities that others don't. Embrace your uniqueness, and you will find peace." It was then that Ragav had a moment of realization. For so long, he had been comparing himself to others, wishing he could be like them. But in doing so, he had failed to see his own worth and the unique strengths he had. Everyone had their own path, and that path was shaped by their own experiences, qualities, and abilities. By constantly comparing himself to others, Ragav had been holding himself back from realizing his true potential. From that day forward, Ragav stopped comparing himself to others. Instead, he began to focus on his own strengths and weaknesses. He embraced his journey and worked to improve himself in ways that felt right for him. Slowly, his confidence began to return. He worked harder, stayed true to his abilities, and found satisfaction in his own progress. Ragav learned that success wasn't about being better than anyone else. It was about being the best version of yourself. Years passed, and Ragav's hard work paid off. He built a successful business and became known as one of the most inspiring people in the village. People admired his determination and wisdom, and many came to him for advice. Whenever someone asked him the secret to his success, Ragav would simply smile and say, "Never compare yourself to others. If a fish tries to fly, it will always fail. But if it hones its swimming skills, it can rule the entire ocean." He would also share another piece of wisdom. Comparing yourself to others is like expecting the sun and the moon to shine at the same time. Both have their own place and shine in their own time. Ragav's story became a reminder to the villagers that everyone's journey is unique, and true success comes from embracing your individuality. He had learned that his own strengths were enough, and that when he focused on his journey, success would follow in its own time. And so, Ragav found peace in his own path. He realized that comparing himself to others had only held him back, but once he accepted his own journey, the world opened up to him. He had found his true place in the world, and with it, he found success. Not by being like anyone else, but by being the best version of himself. Ragav's journey teaches us an important lesson. Constantly comparing ourselves to others only leads to frustration. Everyone has their own path in life, and by embracing our own strengths and weaknesses, we can achieve true success. Focus on your own journey, and success will come when it's meant to. If you've ever compared yourself to someone else, remember Ragav's story. Your journey is unique, and you have your own strengths. Embrace them.